Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, we are back in the Zhao, the absolute fire-breathing dragon that this cruiser is here at Legendary Tier. Now, this was actually captured from when Wargaming gave me the Zhao in kind of the test phase, or the loan phase, we will call it. We don't have her quite unlocked yet, but I've seen a few of them out there. So we're just going to go over a few of the playstyle tips and tricks and how to counter her if you see her in a battle, and also how to play her if you are unlocking her right now. The Zhao, of course, is the legendary Japanese cruiser with 12 203mm guns, and if you know anything about the Japanese cruisers, you know that the HE and the AP on these ships is absolutely devastating to anybody who really gets in her way. Now, we are, of course, on the map Greece here in this center spawn location. And what we're doing, we are actually a little broadside. I'm actually watching this replay back, and I'm like, it probably shouldn't have been this broadside and definitely should not have shot. But what we're doing is backing up and getting into position to put ourselves in this angled kiting position. Now, unfortunately, we were detected here, and the Duncan actually got a pretty good shot over the island, but we were waiting for it. We actually threw our throttle into the forward position. However, the Duncan did off a pretty decent shot, and to be quite honest, we only take a little bit of damage. That salvo could have been a lot worse. However, we were a new ship at the time, and everyone sometimes wants a piece of those new ships, so we definitely need to get out of this position. Our battleships have kind of left us here. Now, Greece is one of those unique maps where you can't really play the center spawn that well without really just sitting bow in, and I don't blame our battleships at all. However, this position for, kind of one of these kiting agile, quote-unquote, DPM cruisers is a very beneficial spot if you can kind of get into the spots where the destroyers can't see you. This mess of islands here is very good to kind of go in and out of spots. But in the meantime, we're just going to be throwing off as many of these disgusting HE salvos as we can. And even if we are detected, we are going to be, adjusting our throttle and a little bit of our rudder here to throw off those enemy battleship salvos. Now, of course, you can run a full agile build on any cruiser you so choose, but I truly think it is a waste, especially with the Zhao, to put so much into your rudder, because even slight modifications at the long ranges that you can spam, with this ship are going to make those, battleship salvos, especially because a lot of players tend to emphasize auto aim. They're just going to make them fly all over the place, and you will get good examples of that in this game. I mean, we've already dodged, I think, 3 or 4 battleship salvos. Now, the first one was a decent shot, but even with that slight angle which we were at, as I lose my computer here. This was on the old computer. But even at that slight angle we were at, despite some uninformed viewers, understanding of armor angling, you are moderately protected. Now, of course, different ships and different nations have improved AP pen angles. The Italian battleships is one example. And the citadel of the Zhao is rather large, so you want to keep that thing protected. But in this position here, as we get our computer back, it is very safe. It's very protected. Now, you are not necessarily influencing the cap. You can see that we actually don't have the cap. But there's nothing that we can do inside the cap that we cannot do out here. We are a much better benefit to our team in this position, just constantly throwing out HE. As you can see, the game has barely started. We have 4 fires and 45,000 damage. Now, I know that my battleship mains are getting ready to angrily type on the comments here. Well, yeah, HE spam is ruining the game. Well, it's not. If you find yourself constantly getting spammed, now, like I've said before, it's going to happen to everyone. It's happened to me a few times, but getting those fireproof metals and those dreadnoughts is very satisfying when you know how to mitigate and avoid the HE spam. And what you should do is not engage with the spammers. Either close the distance, go after them, or don't engage, remain concealed, and move into a position with island cover, or help your team get the cap, so that way the spammers are forced to come to you. As we just talked about, I have kind of had to kite away in this position, and we do not have the Bravo cap. On top of that, this Worcester here and that Heisen are outside of my range, so there's nothing I can do to put myself or to go after them. However, this Des Moines here has moved into the Alpha cap, and he is showing me broadside, so we went ahead and switched to the AP. And yeah, you guys are going to see why you do not want to show broadside to the Zhao, especially medium to long ranges here. And of course, right on cue, as soon as we hype up the AP, we only get 4 penetrations, which is actually pretty decent. 203mm guns with around a 10-second reload getting 4 and 5 penetrations every 10 seconds is going to, you will see ships, battleships, cruisers, even destroyers evaporate with that kind of volley of fire. Now, we actually switched targets here, and for some reason, I think it's because the Colombo had just been reset, but with 2 ships in a cap, a little way to cheese a little bit more XP is to reset each of them, right? The Colombo is gaining some capture points, so we reset him, and here is why you do not want to show broadside. The follow-up salvo on that Des Moines right around, 12, 13 kilometers here. Yeah, this is going to be a cruiser player's worst nightmare. That was, 20, 30K in 2 salvos, and there was nothing really he could do about it. He did put himself in decent position, but he was spotted. We were out here just enough to lob over that island, and that is 4 citadels and about 30,000 damage in 20 seconds there, and yeah, that is our first kill. I want to take a brief pause and talk about position and location and just overall strategy. Now, we mentioned early on that Greece is one of those unique maps where if you get the central spawn, it's sometimes a toss-up of what you should do. But because we kind of read game flow and saw that the enemy was spreading out as well as our team, by staying in this central position here, we now have free reign on pretty much every, corner of the map. We can hit C, our guns go well into A and past A, and because of these islands here on the right side, we have remained concealed for a good majority of the game. So while yes, sometimes people, say that, oh, it's not the best spawn or whatever, by simply putting your ship where a vast majority of your team is not, is going to net you much better results than simply following your team. Imagine if we were at A right now. This Worcester could be getting into these islands, and with the sinking of our Yamato on the C and D side there, we would be in a terrible position because we're probably going to lose that C cap as well as, lose all angles on our broadsides. Now, fortunately, due to our position and understanding game flow, as you can kind of see me pointed out on stream here, we're going to go back and defend this C position. However, because we know that there is a destroyer last spotted in the middle, now that was a while ago, so we don't exactly know where he is. And of course, we know that the other destroyer is over near C, as our Yamato was just sunk over there. So what we're going to do in this situation, as we see the C cap start to turn red, is defend the CD side and wait for our team to push through the middle. You can see our destroyer is working his way into Bravo. Now, ideally, I would have liked for my teammates to go through the south side of A instead of bunching up kind of near me here on the north side as we defend this C cap. Just as a general rule of thumb, you want to get away from your teammates. Do not, be grouped near each other. Now, of course, there are multiple different scenarios, AA bubbles, etc., but on average, you don't want to be grouped up with your teammates. And here is a perfect example of armor angling and just a slight adjustment to your throttle and your rudder, which will cause battleship players to probably lose their mind. You can see we barely just turned out there and adjusted our throttle just a little bit, and now this Heisen is on a double fire. We're getting the defend ribbons, and he did no damage to us. So on top of not only defending the cap, we are attracting the damage from the Heisen, the Worcester, and potentially that destroyer, which is in C. We can tell that there's another ship in the cap there, as we are getting the resets on that Heisen, but the cap is not fully being reset as we ping our teammates, who are again all bunched up in one square. Like I said, ideally I would have liked for one of them at least to push through the alpha cap after, of course, they take care of that main and create just like I said, a kind of sweeping flank there, which covers back towards Delta. Now, of course, we're going to get this Heisen here, and our Kaba is doing a fantastic job. He has gotten the Bravo cap. He is also distracting that Heisen as well. But because we pushed out here further north, that Heisen has a decision to make as we tick the high caliber and get another fire. He can either shoot at us or shoot at that Kaba in the middle there. So again, it's all about separating yourself out and creating flanks. There are, of course, certain situations in every game, triple Colombo division or triple Schlieffen division, where, if you separate out as we want to get this kill, but we actually don't end up getting it. We missed out on a few kills here, but as I've said so many times before, while kills and Krakens are absolutely fun, they are not the most influential part of a game. The amount of damage and resets we did to that Heisen was so much more important than getting the kill. People get so hung up on trying to get damage and kills. Now, of course, we are getting a lot of damage in this game, which is part of the reason I put some of these up. They are enjoyable, but the only reason we are getting this damage is because we are putting our ship in the right position. Now, of course, the Zhao has the means to get a lot of damage by simply sitting behind an island and spamming HE, but you will see so many players, and of course it is frustrating on both sides when you see those players sit behind one of the furthest islands, not doing anything, spamming HE. That is the type of player that we all hate. But here, a type of player we absolutely love is a destroyer who knows his role. This Kaba is charging the Shimakaze, so we throw a shot at him to support our fellow Kaba, just in case he takes a torp. We actually hit the Shima, and unfortunately we don't get the kill, so that is 2 kills we've missed out on, but it doesn't matter, because with that salvo connecting, we have done 20% damage to 6 or more ships, which gets us the Confederate medal. If you want to know that you've had a good game in a cruiser, especially in a close game like this, you can see we are actually down on caps, but we are up on ships, at least for the meantime, is by getting a Confederate medal. Now, sometimes people will go out of their way to avoid duties and playing for the team to get the Confederate medal. And to be quite honest, it's a video game, so if you want to chase damage, that's your prerogative. But the mentality that I have, especially in a game with 8 other players, is you have to play in some form of team fashion, right? Just like pickup basketball, the analogy I've used so many times, you wouldn't go to a pickup basketball court and start picking up the basketball and punting it across the court, as you would be asked to leave, and that is what I feel like some players do sometimes in a video game. Now, of course, as soon as the game ends, life goes on. I feel like some people, especially with all the hipper drama recently, like they have absolutely no problems in their life. But to a certain extent, when you are in a game, you should try in some form or fashion to play in a team-oriented manner. Now, that being said, you don't have to be, the Super Bowl was yesterday. You don't have to be a Super Bowl type player when, performing these roles, but you certainly have to, at least go for an objective, perform. If you're a battleship, you have to attract a little bit of damage, but regardless here, we're going to go ahead and work our way into the Bravo cap while that Kaba gets the C cap. Now, a few of you may have been wondering why I was firing salvos in between the channel there, and well, you're going to find out in about 0 seconds here as the Shimakaze launches a spread of torpedoes into that channel. You can use your spotting as an advantage. Now, of course, destroyer concealment is one of the things that I think should be slightly adjusted. A lot of Shimakaze players rely on broken concealment and obnoxious torpedoes to think that they are a good player. The Shima is just one of the biggest crutch ships I have ever seen, besides maybe the Kamikaze. And some people are not going to like that statement, but well, the truth hurts. But regardless, we knew that he was in between that channel there, and as you can see very shortly here, he actually becomes detected slight to our right. He was probably trying to turn around and get a good volley of torpedoes off, but he just launched that volley, and even with the shorter reload time of the Shima, there's very little chance he has those back, and even if he does, we have our Hydro now, and he is just kind of stuck in this cheesy position against the island. And when going against Japanese cruiser HE, doesn't matter what destroyer you're in, you are not going to last very long. So, good night, Mr. Shima. Thanks for playing. We enjoy the XP. And just so a lot of players know, as we switch to the AP, and we actually turn out in this situation. Now, if we had not seen that previous volley of torpedoes, you want to turn in. It's a little bit easier to dodge torpedoes turning into them, especially in the the apex of your turn there. But we saw that this Wooster was broadside, so we turn out, switch to the AP. Unfortunately, he is running what looks like a rudder build, so he is quickly turning his ship in there, but it doesn't matter because we switched to the HE, and yeah, he's not going to last very long going against Zhao HE. But just a previous point on destroyers, you get more XP despite not getting that much damage on destroyers. So if you're looking to do better in terms of XP, which is I think XP is the truest indicator of skill in this game. It has very little to do. You can cheese your win rate, you can cheese damage, and you can even do things to increase XP. But the best indicator of a decent player is your overall average XP. Now, of course, the longer you play, the better you're going to get, the more average XP you're going to have. But to me, average XP is a great indicator. Doing 4,000 damage to a destroyer, which is like 20% of his health, is worth than doing like 10,000 damage to a battleship. And speaking of XP, we get a fantastic total there of a 38-13 with a top placement there, and a huge shout out to our Kaba as well with a 2351. So a lot of people, I know there's been a lot of complaints about the game recently, and I might even do my own video. Like I don't know if I kept that take in there, but some people honestly need to have bigger problems in their life than what the player base feels in Legends. But regardless, if you are watching my videos, you are going to have to be the difference maker in a lot of these games. The unfortunate, sad truth about this player base is most of them don't really care. Now, again, I don't like that attitude, but it's the truth. Most players don't really care how the game turns out. They're going to blame a host of factors, if they even blame anything, and not just, go on with their lives. Now, of course, as a video game, you shouldn't really care when the match is over. We've seen some funny hate mails. My favorite is when somebody sends hate mail and they're on the bottom of the leaderboard. I just got one from 40 Ounce Fan where this guy was giving him crap and he was on the very bottom of the leaderboard. But regardless, if you're watching my videos, you are going to have to be the difference in the game. Now, some games are unwinnable. It is impossible to go 1 versus 9. And it feels like you have 8 people with no hands who are playing this game. But anyway, guys, try and be the difference maker. That is the strategy of the ZOW, Japanese cruisers, French cruisers, DPM kiting cruisers, in a sense. Remember that it is still your responsibility to help your team win, despite not having certain utilities such as radar and other things, but you still have an obligation to do that. And I think that game was a perfect example of how to do so. So I hope you guys learned a lot from that one. Let me know if my Battleship mains are still angry, and I triggered a few IJN Destroyer players there, but my goal is to trigger everybody, so that, yeah, but that's the video. Love you guys. Aaron out. Peace.